Greg Fleet and Chris Franklin opened for me. It's either really great news for my career or horrible news for their career. So you guys look pretty religious. Everyone here's read the Bible? Yeah, well look, just in case it's been a little while, 2 books of the Bible, Old Testament and New Testament, and God is the only character that features in both books. He's like Darth Vader in the Star Wars films. And just like Darth Vader, he's 2 really, really different guys. Like Darth Vader in the first films, which are chronologically the second films, he's a real badass, you know, he's blowing up planets, strangling co-workers, he gate crashed Lando Calrissian's dinner party. Yeah? Okay. Like Darth Vader is such a bad guy, he cut off his own son's hand. But to be fair, Darth Vader's a Jedi, he can read minds, and he knew that Luke was having a wank over his sister. But, I mean, Luke Skywalker has to have the worst finding out your adopted story of all time. Because his dad cut his hand off and said, "I'm your father." And he said, "Okay." So that's a new one, that's going. But the Force is weird. Like, a Jedi can detect a planet blowing up 1,000,000 light years away, but he can't tell that he's kissing his own sister. But Darth Vader in the second films is a terrible character. Like, he's a whiny little kid, he's a moody teenager. It's like Home Alone in space. And you know, he turned to the dark side so easily, you kind of think that if the Emperor had given him half a glass of cider, he'd have been able to molest him in the back of the Death Star. Even his name is worse. Anakin. Anakin. Kind of sounds like an anal napkin. And God's kind of the same. Like Old Testament God, cool God, angry God. You know, he's like, kill your firstborn son, plagues and floods. Like, God is such a badass that he condemned all of mankind because he caught Adam eating an apple. Kind of wonder what would have happened if he caught him having a wank under that tree. I mean, that's why when people say, why do bad things happen to good people? The answer's in the Bible. God's a bit of a cunt. But New Testament, God's all love and forgiveness and heal the sick and loaves and fishes. You kind of think, what happened to that guy? And I've got a bit of a theory. You see, God had a bit of a temper on him, and in around the time between the Old Testament and the New Testament, the ancient Romans were in charge, or as they like to call themselves, the Romans. And it was a pretty fucked up society. Like, they had the orgies, they had the Colosseums, and they were really bored with all that stuff, and this was a real thing that's happened. They collected all the dwarves and midgets they could find, put them in a Colosseum, and they made them bugger each other. So, if God didn't like the apple eating, he's not going to be too happy about dwarf sodomy. And he had something really, really big planned. Like, kind of a God's greatest hits. He was going to send a flood, classic. He was going to send a plague of piranhas. And he was going to put that seaweed in the water that's always touching your leg. And halfway through, God punches his chest, blacks out. Wakes up in hospital, his doctor's there. God, I'm not going to lie to you, you had a heart attack. It's pretty touch and go. You're going to be okay, but you're going to have to make some changes. First, no more 2 of every animal. Second, you're going to have to start exercising. You're not as omnipotent as you used to be. And third, you're going to have to do something about your temper. Your blood pressure's through the roof. This anger's killing you. Fast forward to a month later. God's in his bedroom, old pyjamas, curtains drawn. There's a knock at the door. Dad? It's Jesus. The doctor said you can go back to work now. Ah, son. Do you ever wonder, maybe there's no me? Dad, you're scaring me. Son, you go, I'm not ready. You go down to earth. So he sent his only son to earth. And they killed him. And God did nothing. which again feels a little bit more serious than the apple eating. And it was a particularly cruel way to die as well, because, you know, Jesus was a carpenter, he trained with Joseph, and they crucified him. And I can't help but think that, you know, when he was being nailed up, he had said, guys, that's probably not the right nails to be using with that wood. And I only hope that whoever built the cross did a good job. Because I would hate for Jesus' last thought to be, when he was up on the cross, oh, that joint's not flush. Thanks guys, you've been great.